Boker Tov, we are continuing in Megilat Eicha Perek Gimel Pasuk Lamed Hey. So here Yirmiyahu Navi is continuing to tell us how great Hashem is, and even though we experience the destruction, even though we're in a low state, we recognize how just Hashem is. And here the Pasuk says, Le'atot mishpat gaver neged penei elyon. Will Hashem tilt the judgment of man in front of the face of Yirmiyahu Navi is saying this. Will Hashem tilt the judgment of man in front of the face of the Great One, in front of Hashem? And Hashem is just, and He won't tilt judgment, even if, let's say, we're bad, whatever. What we got is what we deserve, and there's a judgment. He's not going to play with judgment, chas v'shalom. Or also, le'avet adam berivo Adonai lo ra'ah. Pasuk says here that when a person, he undermines a fellow man in a fight, Hashem doesn't see. You don't think Hashem sees? Yeah, everything is just. Hashem sees everything. Everything is just. Everything has a reason for it. So the Al-Shiach explains the following, that a person, especially when difficulties come to him, he might say to himself that, maybe God is punishing me more than what I deserve. Or the enemies that are beating us are doing us more than what we really deserve. And why is it so much? Or maybe that the fact that Hashem allowed them to hit us, maybe now they're adding more to what they were allowed to do. And maybe we're getting more than what we actually deserve. But that pasuk here, Yirmiyahu Navi tells us, don't think like that. Everything is just. Just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so strict, and there's so many laws for dayanim and judges and courts. Making lo tatem mishpat, don't tikach shochad, you can't tilt the judgment, you can't take bribery, the judges have to be, and the Gemara says, every judge that's judging a case has to envision, he brings the Gemara Masechet Yevamot, Kuftet, that you have to envision as if Gehinam is open right there beside you. The judge has to envision that if he's going to, play with the judgment because someone maybe gave him a bribe or something like that, or he likes this guy, whatever it is, Gehinam's right there. So all the more so, how could it be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Chas v'Shalom, would change and not be just? Everything, of course, is 100% just from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he brings down a Gemara Masechet Bava Kama that says, though, that there's a concept, Kevan shenitan reshut lemashchit eno mavchin ben tzadik lerasha, that sometimes when there's a plague or when there's a decree, since Hashem gives authority to the evil, let's say the negative malachim to destroy, that destruction, there's no difference in tzaddik and rasha. He hits whoever he hits. I say like in the World War II, the tzaddikim pass everything. Right? When there's different plagues and different, if you want to call COVID a plague, whatever it is, right? But there was no difference tzaddikim. So how does that work? Didn't we say everything is just? How could it be that? And we said that every time also, if there's death, the death connects to a person's sin. There must have been sin there in order for death to come upon him. So how could it be that if everything is just, how does that work? So the way he explains this is, he says, of course, it's of course within the realm of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's deen and judgment. And he says that the concept that a mashchit goes out and a destructive plague, and now there's no difference in tzaddik and rasha, it's because of a certain sin. And that certain sin caused this decree. And therefore, it says it must be that even those tzaddikim had that sin in them in a smaller version. You might have looked at this person and said, wow, that guy, he's a sinner in X. Let's say, called, Ganav. He steals. So, and let's say the plague happened in Shammai, and we don't know the reasons, but it came because of they stealing. So all these guys, wow, these Rishaim, these guys are robbers. Look what they do. Well, there's some tzaddikim that got killed here also. We look at it as a decree. There's no difference tzaddikim and Rashaim at that point. How does that work with judgment? Everything is judgment. And the way he explains is that even those tzaddikim, they also had a little bit of thievery must have been inside of them. They also had that sin in them. And therefore the mashchit came to kill and wipe out because of the sin of thievery, because of the sin of robbing. And therefore it hit even the tzaddikim as well. But judgment was there. And that's why it's recommended, is the Gemara, there's all a quote from Gemara Masechet Bava Kama, and also in Shabbat, that when you see a decree, you see a harsh decree out, you see a plague, to go inside to go inside and don't. You see dever, you see people passing in the street, or animals that are passing. Just go inside. What does go inside mean? Look inside yourself and say, where can I better myself? And the person has to do teshuvah. So if there is a plague, there's a way to fix it. Even those tzaddikim, I got to really look, search, and see: do I have a connection to the averah that's going out here, and that's why these people are passing? Do I have a connection as well? But the point here is that, of course, everything is just, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Dayan HaEmet, is the judge of truth, and as we say, Baruch Dayan HaEmet, even though things are very, very difficult and a person passes, and how did this happen? He was young, it was a car accident, how could this have been? We always say, Baruch Dayan HaEmet, blessed Hashem, you are the judge of truth, and you made a judgment, and that judgment we know is truth, is an emet, is just. And therefore, even though it might not look like that or appear like that to us, we always, of course, have to know that everything that Hashem does is just. And therefore, if we feel like, maybe I'm getting too much, maybe the enemies are doing too much to me, or maybe in my personal life, Hashem is throwing too much at me, I can't handle this. Every test a person has, Hashem gave him that test tailor-made for him that he could handle and that is the best for him. And there's a judgment that made, and nothing's more than, and God forbid, Hashem's not out to get anyone or anything, only to make a person get better and better. B'ezrat Hashem. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen. Ve'amen. Rabbi Chananya. Barak Hashem. Meratzak Baruch Hu le'zakot le'zafich. Achi ba'alem tov. So shneimar. Adonai hafetz. Man tzidko yagdil Torah ve'yadir.